as a loose cannon. Same thing with Pete Hegseth, the guy that, on Signalgate, sharing really delicate information. And at any rate, this press conference today, it's just so bizarre what he is doing. This post yesterday, because today he said that they had a deadline and that it expired today, but he figured it wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't very Christian to attack the day after Easter. But is it Christian to, or whatever, however he phrased it, is it better to tweet at them, or whatever you call Truth Social, Goof Social, I think is probably the best way to put that. But it is astounding to me that people on my Facebook page, I made a video yesterday. If you're not following me on Facebook, I would love to have you join us there, or Instagram. I also have a Substack and Blue Sky where I share some of this. Just so many places. And I tend to have more content on Instagram and Facebook. I try to catch some of the stories or give you my take on things. And yesterday I posted about this, about the fact that not just Donald Trump waking up on Easter morning, not with any sort of message for the world. I mean, Pope Leo, around the same time, is at St. Peter's Basilica, talking about how those who have the power to wipe out human lives should lay down their arms to go pursue paths of peace. And look, I'm not Catholic. I am a fan of the Pope, not just because he's from Chicago, and I will, give him special dispensation for being a Sox fan. By the way, I wore my Sox hat yesterday for the video in honor. I believe it was my Vatican-approved Easter bonnet. I also wore my favorite Pope shirt. It says it's the Sox logo with the blue, white, and red colors from the 1970s that Harebrained Designs has created. They've got a great line of shirts. At any rate, so I made this video yesterday about just how despicable, how unchristian, and the contrast between him and Pope Leo. And look, again, of course, there's going to be a contrast between one of the biggest grifters to take advantage to just pollute our international relationships, to pickpocket Americans to the point where our social services are going to be so incredibly harmed for years, if not decades to come. The grift is wide and deep. And I'm not expecting him to be at all Christian in anything he does, or to be forthcoming, or to be honest, or anywhere in the stratosphere of what the Pope's message was yesterday. It really, I think, comes back to his followers, to the cult that slurp this crap up and love it, saying that, the Iranians, one woman posted on my page that you can't negotiate with terrorists. You have to eliminate them. And I said, well, I think that's awfully harsh to say about MAGA, because, I was just being a little passive aggressive, I was being obtuse. And she goes, I was talking about Iran. And I'm like, oh no, it sounds like you're talking about MAGA, because there is no negotiating with these folks. They want to wipe Iran. By the way, for the rich, for the powerful. And so, but the thing is, people don't see their own reflection in this hateful speech saying that they are terrorists, when we seem to be the terrorists in other parts of the world, that we seem to be the ones, that we are the ones coming in and disrupting lives and taking lives. So I just, this is something I was reflecting on yesterday as we gathered for Easter. This is when I just can't remember in my entire life. And look, I know that part of how we got here was being sort of cynical or apathetic about politics and just kind of, letting it run on autopilot for a lot of us, just kind of showing up to vote every now and then. Maybe we'd show up for a primary. Maybe we'd engage and see what the debate was about. I mean, I was a dork as a kid. I remember running home and watching the Iran-Contra hearings, and Ollie North in his uniform, his Marine uniform. And by the way, that's another instance of the United States getting involved and trying to control things. They had basically in the basement, they were running this operation of... at any rate, it hurts my brain to even think about. I guess we were just so passive about how this all has unfolded to the point where we've given this over. We've given the world over to those who can buy it. the highest bidder. We have billionaires. Now I saw a story about Elon Musk. I guess they've deputized some of his staff as federal agents now without any sort of federal training. And it's such a small story compared to everything that's happening. But I come back to the folks, and I know there are a lot of bots on social media, but some of these are. I don't know how to explain this, but you can tell, like if it's the same message that's happening over and over and over again, those are generally bots. If it's the same sort of talking points, you can sort of get those. But it's the ones where, and I go to the pages to see what's what, and not that those couldn't also be generated out of thin air. But I'm also of the mind of, Hal Sparks talks about this. So when he gets in an argument with somebody, knowing that it might be a bot, or, a lot of people will say, like Terry Cosgrove says, it's a waste of our time to engage. And I get that, but there are so many people that are online. There is this attention economy that we have to make sure that we're participating in, whoever that is. And that's part of why I argue on social media. It's not for the person I'm arguing with. It's for the folks who are so, they want to know that someone has their sleeves rolled up and they're fighting. And that's part of why I do that. And then so when they see that there isn't someone just making content just for the sake of it, I hope that people see that there are those who aren't going to put up with this crap. Let's see. Well, what did you do? Never mind. Tariffs and bombs. Something about Epstein. Yeah, he's the president. I'm sure he said something substantial. Yeah, there's nothing substantial. Let's see. At any rate, let me check in with some of the texts. 773-763-9278, by the way, is the number to call or text. Again, that's 773-763-9278. And let's see. I'm trying to see what this... my goodness, this is a long post. This is a long one. Oh, about Friday. I was angry AF with the Alabama Bernie bro, and it spilled over onto your female guest. Sorry about that. Thank you for rephrasing my demand into a question. No. I don't. I can search through our conversation history and know that you're not coming from a bad place. And sometimes texts and messages like people send can be a little bit aggressive. Anyway, I see. So this is about the young man I had in studio. From ranked choice voting. It's we'll work through all of that. I think what I'm seeing as well is this attack of far left extremists. And I think, to your point, I think we've gone back and forth about the candidate in Maine, Graham, who has he's not just problematic. I do think that there is concern about him being another Sinema or Fetterman, and I get that. So I just don't know how we vet that, how we get cut through a lot of the noise. Mark says, for what it's worth, I think you should keep your song as it is. It's really comforting to have it as a memory before everything fell apart. I just thought about that a couple of weeks ago because Steve Goody has asked me, and I've been kind of asking you guys once in a while for suggestions on what we should put in that song. And I was thinking that news happens so fast that it's hard. But maybe but don't you think maybe also adding a Pope Leo element to our song would be fun too? Let me think about it, because I don't want to put, I don't want to have to be reminded of the war. Yeah, it's sort of soothing to remember that when we were wearing masks and trying to save lives, and things like that. And how quaint when it was just about political leaders grabbing butts and things like that, for folks who maybe don't know all the lyrics to the song. I can't sing the whole thing, but I know it's driving it home. And thank you to listeners who join us sometimes at live events and sing it to me. It's very sweet, and I appreciate it. Give us a call, 773-763-9278. That's the number to call and join the conversation anytime during the show. We want to thank our sponsors, of course. We're going to catch up with Peter Sorellis from Source Solar. Warren has this show on Saturdays. I hope you're tuning in. Thank you to the folks who called in on Saturday. He's on at 9 a.m. And Warren also works with Peter Sorellis at Source Solar. Go to source.solar. Make an appointment, and Peter will walk you through the process of getting solar panels on your house or business. And we'll find out about some of those business incentives that you want to be aware of and be mindful of when they might be running out, because this administration doesn't believe in making sure we have renewable energy because they don't think it's a real thing. I believe, which you would think now that we're in this oil crisis and gasoline is over $5 in many parts of the Chicagoland area. I'm just saying. So at any rate, source.solar. We also want to thank our friends at Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to pridecoffeeroasters.com and put in an order for some of the best single origin roasted beans you will find anywhere. It's my favorite. I love waking up to their coffee. And they have their schedule there for where they'll be in person if you want to stop by one of the markets, including in May. I believe it's May 3rd. We will be at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market at Copernicus Center. So looking forward to seeing folks in just a few weeks. Also want to thank by the way, that's pridecoffeeroasters.com. We also want to thank our friends at Are You Really Winning? Go to areyourreallywinning.com and if you or someone you know is struggling with a gambling problem, there is no shame in reaching out for help. I wish that there were services like this for my dad when I was a kid, because he did struggle with gambling addiction, and he kept chasing it. So before you get farther in over your head and it affects your family or your future, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit areyourreallywinning.com. We also want to thank our friends. Let's see, who do we have? Oh, Minocqua Brewing Company. I have my latest piece that I wrote over the weekend about Pete Hegseth having that little religious gathering only for Protestants. 3,500 employees received an email, and if they were Protestant, they were welcome to join them for the Good Friday service that they had. And then I got a bunch of comments, by the way, about how Catholics don't do service on Good Friday, and I haven't been to Catholic church in a bit, but I thought that there was. At any rate, also, please go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. We had a great time at their Madison tap room. If you are in the area or thinking about a road trip, that might be a good place to check out the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room in Madison, Wisconsin, and he'll be opening, of course, the Minocqua Brewing Company location in Minocqua very soon. So go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and maybe put in an order for some progressive brew, including my favorite. It is and always will be the Gulf of Mexico Mexican lager. Let's take a break here, and we've got your phone calls lined up on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150. Thank you to our friends listening in Seattle. We'll be right back after this. Oh, you can also watch on Facebook. Hi, everybody watching. Thank you for being there. We're also on YouTube. All the places.
Dive deeper into the heart of the news and stories at WCPT 820 and across the Midwest by checking out our website, heartlandsignal.com.
It's the coverage I can count on every time.
For the latest news updates, in-depth analysis, compelling stories, comprehensive election coverage, live streams, and thought-provoking opinions, head to heartlandsignal.com.
When I need to know, they're there.
They keep me informed and updated wherever I am.
Stay informed with WCPT 820, your go-to source for where facts matter.
If you're looking to purchase a loved one's home after they passed away, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Pam wanted to purchase her grandmother's $400,000 home after she passed away, which was left to Pam's father, Ted, and her Aunt Betty. Ted listens to my show and wanted to forego his half of the equity of his mom's home and sell Pam the home for $200,000. Bad move. I recommended Pam purchase the home for $400,000 and get a gift of equity from her father, Ted, for $200,000. Which enabled Pam to purchase the home with a lower rate and no money out of her pocket. Let's review. I helped Pam purchase her grandmother's home without having to bring a penny to the closing and secure a lower rate. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com.
Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk and
Or Pete.
From city streets to political beats, you're driving it home with Patti Vasquez, where progressive talk fuels the ride.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this drive home. I do want to let my friend from the 872 that I am reading through your text. You know, it's interesting because the guest that they're talking about was on last week, and every once in a while, and I think Ben Cominos also references the moment he had when, part of what I think energized him, as some people might call it, I don't know if radicalize it, but sort of gave them sense of urgency for wanting to get involved or share their opinions, was Bernie. And, I have to agree, like, it's a challenge for me because when I say something that sounds critical of Bernie, the Bernie faction comes out and people get very upset with that. And other people who I think I agree with on a lot of things. For me, like, what's hard about primaries too, and maybe this is where we could have the conversation about ranked choice voting. First of all, my understanding is that Bernie left the Democratic Party. So all, this whole talk about shenanigans was, to me, he didn't want to be a part of the Democratic Party. He felt that he had a different vision, that he was in a different lane. So then to want the Democratic nomination is problematic. And that's my thought on that. And I also felt that he seemed salty, when he was at the DNC. My thoughts then were the people who were like, absolutely not Hillary. And I will say this as well. Like, I was concerned about Hillary Clinton running. I do think that she was I think that she's one of the most qualified candidates we have had in the history of our elections. And she's a galvanizing person. I mean, people have, the way that the media has hammered away at Hillary Clinton, even when she was the first lady of Arkansas. There's a great video that I've shared before with folks where all the way back to when Bill was the governor of Arkansas, and they were like, why aren't you changing your name? Why are you still working? Why, and I think that she developed partly this defensive, like sort of this, she had to be composed and still be who she is. And Katie Couric, when she was the first lady of in the White House, Katie Couric was like, people see you as Lady Macbeth and that you're, pulling the strings behind. And it was always this very negative angle that many people bought into. At any rate, I think I knew that if Hillary ran, there would be a lot of people out there to vote against her as much as they were going to vote for the Republican nominee. Unfortunately, it was Donald Trump, and that brought other people out. And then you had the Bernie folks that didn't want to vote for her. It was a freaking fracking mess. Anyway. That's just some of my thoughts on that. It's a much longer conversation, but here we are. Hey, Jim, how are you doing?
Hi, Patty. That news conference was insane, but over the weekend, I was delighted to see that Pope Leo was going to canonize Bishop Fulton-Sheen. He's one step away. And Bishop Fulton-Sheen, we never missed him. He was the TV star of the 50s and 60s. Nobody ever missed him. And he'd always rail against people that hoarded money, you name it. Now, he's from Decatur, Illinois. I've got some rich Irish. He was an Irish extraction. Some of the wealthy people, my grandmother's side, were from Decatur. It's around that area, Peoria. But here's the thing. The last miracle that was attributed to him, a gal she was on Channel 7 this weekend, and her baby was born without a heartbeat. So it went on for 60 minutes, and they were like, well, we got to fold our cards here. This kid's got no chance. And suddenly the heart started beating. And now the kid's playing football. He's in perfect health. He's 15 years old and a beautiful-looking kid. But Sheen was number one in the box office at TV from the 50s to the 60s. And he would just tremendous. You couldn't miss him. All he had was a blackboard and it's chalk, a piece of chalk, and he'd pick a thing, and he was really funny. He was Irish, and he loved the Irish, and I'm just so happy to see it. I think he's buried in St. Patrick's in Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken. But I was glad to see that because, this Hegseth, how about Hegseth? He wouldn't let Catholics into the
service.
To the service on Good Friday. Think of this, Patty. My father was a Catholic 4 years in the South Pacific. My uncle was 4 years in the South Pacific, another Catholic. I can go on and on and on. And they'd be out of their skulls if they heard something so crazy as that.
I know.
Like, what?
I know.
I'm serious. How crazy are these people? But now they want, and then to say you're going to annihilate people, and the truth of the matter is he mentioned, the premier of Israel, and whatever his name is, he mentioned him a couple times during the press conference. He's Netanyahu. Netanyahu was going to be blown off the face of the earth if the Iranians got the bomb. It's crazy stuff. And then they had a Israeli, he asked in the newspapers. He was the first question he took. He said, "Well, thank you, Mr. Trump. You're the bravest man in the world for bombing Iran." Can you get another plant? Can you get another plant in the audience? Anyway, Patty, what a news conference that was. And Hegseth, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's in some kind of this Christian nationalism that is tearing the country apart. They've separated the country into two halves. Now they want to, I guess by religion, separate the country into two halves. And it's just insane. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I just think of all the great Catholics that fought for 4 years in World War II, in Vietnam, like President Vietnam. They go crazy. Listen to this nonsense. Anyway, Patty, thanks a million.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks, Jim. Let's get to Max in North Carolina. What's on your mind, Max?
Oh, hi. I was listening to Trump, and he was talking about how they got that guy Maduro down in Venezuela. They actually paid the guy, like his head of security, to shut off the radars and tell him where his security were sleeping, because half of the people, more than half of them, were killed in their sleep. They shot some missiles in there and killed them. They paid him $50 million. One of them I know that they executed. The other two, I don't know what happened to them. They were going to do the same thing in Iran, and ask one of the generals that they were going to pay him off, and supposedly he was going to end up being one of their leaders. You can read that. The Iranian has an English newspaper. I have friends in Iran because I'm a Franciscan Catholic, so and I have a lot. We're for the poor. I've been in the Vatican 4 times. Okay, but we're not. We're different. I know other Franciscan Catholics are different than the organization that I work with. That basically we're for the poor. And when you bring up Hillary Clinton, the reason we didn't support Hillary Clinton, because when she was the down there in the First Lady of Georgia, she worked with this organization that didn't support her either, and it was like Children Defense Funds. And Katharine Hepburn, I think her name is, she made that movie a long time ago, something in Italy, and she was with some guy driving around in a Vespa. Well, and I forget if that was her name, but it's Catherine something, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, she has an organization that sounds almost the same. So when I heard that name, that she worked for that organization, which is a different organization, but those people from that organization did not support her. So they seen what she was doing, and they didn't support her. So that was one of the reasons why we didn't support her. So I'm pretty sure that Katharine Hepburn if that's her right name, she was actually served in the military at 15 years old. She was like she used to travel and carry letters to people that were fighting against the Germans and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
She's buried, and I almost been to her cemetery.
It's Audrey Hepburn.
Okay, Audrey Hepburn, skinny woman. Okay, so
thin, she suffered greatly during the war. She was one of the reasons that she worked for UNICEF later in her life was because she had her family had been short on, they had not received the nutrition they needed, and she was a dancer. She was a ballerina dancer. Anyway.
But I actually been to, I was like, I'm not kidding, 23 miles away from where she was buried at. I went, because her organization, which is, people could look it up, it's like Defense, but it's a children organization. And I used to volunteer for them back in like at the end of the 90s. Mm-hmm. But I actually went over there. I was over there in Switzerland, in Geneva, and around the lake. That's where she's like buried over there. She has, and I was like, wow. I wish I knew that at that time that she was buried there, because I would have went and paid my respect to her, But anyway, so I just wanted to say that is that. And that's where Trump, where he made his big mistake, because they found that general, they killed him. Okay, so then Trump had to make his second move. But, if he was so worried about the gas in the United States, all we have to do is what Maduro was doing, is we just nationalize it. My ancestors, we fought in World War II. My uncles fought in World War II. My uncles fought in Korea and Vietnam, and my cousins fought in Iraq. And we actually,
I really have to run to a break. I apologize. Huh?
If he wants to do something for the people, he could do that. Just nationalize it. It'll bring our gas prices down real quick.
All right. Thank you so much for calling, Max. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to Lissette Castañeda. Lissette, am I saying your name correctly? Castañeda? Hold on a second. I got to get your microphone on here real quick. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi, Lissette. I'm going to take a commercial here, and we'll be right back with you, okay? Thank you for joining us.
Great.
Appreciate your patience. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150. Our listeners on hold, I will get to your call shortly as well.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update. This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
The Ben Joravsky Show.
The vast majority of people, they're vaguely aware who Susana Mendoza is, because she's been comptroller for a while. She's pretty high profile. She wants to be mayor of the city of Chicago. That's pretty obvious. So really what you have to do is think about what I just said. She's been the comptroller since 2016. It's a relatively high profile seat. She made a name for herself by being the attack dog, and she was fearless. And I thank her for her service, She used to come on my radio show. Remember when I had a radio show?
The Ben Joravsky Show. Saturdays at 5 p.m. on WCPT.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the summer of 1909 in McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, the workers of the Pressed Steel Car Company went on strike due to missing wages. 5,000 workers, mostly immigrants from Eastern European countries, walked out. They protested a corrupt payment system called pooling. The workers also claimed their wives and daughters were sexually assaulted in order to repay debts accumulated for food and housing. On average, one worker would die every day from the poor safety conditions. The workers received solidarity from the International Workers of the World, Standard Steel Car Company of Butler, and the railway trainmen and streetcar motormen who refused to haul scab workers into the city. The strike culminated in a bloody confrontation resulting in the deaths of at least 12 workers and one deputy sheriff, with many more workers injured. This led to a settlement which gave workers increased wages at a posted pay rate and ended the abuses of the company's housing practices. This has been a WCPT moment in labor. We're working for your rights.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
I am very excited to talk to our next guest with over 20 years of experience in housing. We have on the line with us the Department of Housing Commissioner for the City of Chicago is Lissette Castañeda. Hey, Lissette, how are you doing today, Commissioner?
I am really well. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Wonderful to have you. And tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally?
I am originally from here because it's the best place to be from. I'm born and raised in Chicago, and I'm very happy to still be here.
And where'd you go to high school? That's always my question.
Lane Tech.
Hey, what? What?
Yes.
Class of 89, baby. Is that right? I feel so
not
old.
quite 89,
Me.
but we'll
you can tell me how much younger you are than me. That's okay. If you don't want to share, that's fine.
Yes.
Were there still shop classes when you went to school there?
There were still shop classes. I have an LTHS hanging somewhere in my mom's house, I think, still. So absolutely, very classic Lane Tech.
Yep, I got my plaque. I've got my arrow. I had Foundry, which was the worst class ever. Anyway, that's not why we're here. But I mean, actually, when you think about it, going to a school with when I was there, it was huge. We had a very large freshman class, and I think we were over 5,500 students by 1989. And if you think about like all the different neighborhoods that people came from, I would imagine it was fascinating to me that there wasn't any one single demographic there. So it was sort of this great just sampling, I guess, of the city of Chicago's population. Did that have an impact on the path that you took in working in housing?
That had a huge impact. I am a proud product of Chicago Public Schools, both elementary school and high school. And in both those experiences, I was in the same school K through 8. Then I went to Lane Tech. And the ability to learn new things, to learn about people from different backgrounds, and to make friends from across the city, going all the way up north, and just learning from folks was an incredible foundation for me in understanding both the beauty and diversity, and also different needs and different families being having to have different things to make the best choices for themselves. And it has 100% fed into who I am today and to the work that I do.
I love that so much. Where'd you go to college?
I did some time at DePaul. I haven't quite finished, but we'll get there.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I was thinking about going back to law school at 54. I'm just saying.
There's always time to do more, right?
That's right.
I think right now, just spending a lot of time, directly doing the work on the streets has really been an incredible learning experience in and of itself. So
tell folks, in your capacity, because, it's challenging in the city of Chicago right now. And I know that, during COVID, I don't think people were quite processing the impacts of the last few years. And then beyond that, over the last decade, how many units have been eliminated, apartment rentals or condos, but in particular rentals, because so many of these buildings were either torn down or converted into single family homes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Department of Housing has a really great depth and breadth of scope of work that we do. We're working directly with delegate agencies that are working directly with organizations and people on the ground who are doing the work that are addressing the things that you're talking about. So, for example, we are implementing the Northwest Side Housing Preservation Ordinance, which is particularly addressing what you've just referenced, which is the deconversions in certain areas that have hit really high. The DePaul Institute actually for Housing Studies talks about the great loss there is of 2 to 4 unit homes in the city of Chicago. And that means that we're losing housing stock. It means that there are apartments that were available to rent that are no longer there. And so we're really excited about the things that we're also doing to help counter that. And that includes things like additional dwelling units that just went live, so to speak, on April 1st.
That's I love hearing that, because when we talk about having access to housing, in the 70s, I live on the Northwest Side. I grew up in Norwood Park. I now live in Jefferson Park, actually Gladstone Park. But when I was a kid, there were certain places that people could not necessarily, they wouldn't know to even have the opportunity to maybe rent an apartment on the Northwest Side. There were a lot of apartments, but it was kind of like who you knew, because we also have this history of wanting to exclude certain people of different backgrounds to be able to live in the neighborhoods. It was mostly like word of mouth. You had friends of friends. Hey, I got a place to lease. It wasn't necessarily, what I'm saying? We have excluded, we've kind of withheld resources to a lot of people in the city, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the great things of working in this administration is really the focus on sort of like working on righting those wrongs as very much as we can, right? I know the Northwest side has not always had the best access for just anyone. And then you have a lot of communities on the South and West sides that just haven't had any investment for a really long time. And so we're really proud of the work that we're doing to invest in those communities. That includes 10 out of the 15 projects that we just announced for our latest round of the Qualified Allocation Plan, which is where we're looking to develop more affordable housing, are all on the South and West side. So again, increasing access, particularly to communities that have been left behind, is super duper important to us. And so we're really proud of that work.
Yeah, I know that, and again, that was something that I learned by going to Lane was, where I came from. And when I say that, word of mouth, I grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment there were 3 of us plus a dog in less than 600 square feet above a bank. And, and it was funny because, everyone has a sort of idea when you're kids, like, everyone's background. And I think it was surprising for a lot of people to find out that, someone from Norwood Park, shared a bunk bed with their dad. But, everyone kind of does what they have to in order to have access to the resources in a community. But we have choked off, as you mentioned, the South and West sides. And people are like, righting wrongs are like, well, it's not my fault. But a lot of people have benefited from a system that was designed that way for them, right?
100%. And there's no such thing as like any one of us being so individual that we're out in an island and we're not impacted by the things that happen around us. And so we have to look at what has happened historically. We have to look at, what that has meant for resources for certain people in certain communities, and making sure that we understand that we really want everyone to have that chance at making the best choice for themselves and for their families. And that really does look like looking at equity and looking at that deeply and looking at all of our programs and looking at all of the opportunities that we're able to grant folks, whether it is the person living in the 1-bedroom on the Northwest side, or it is the family trying to figure out how to rent on the South side.
And what are some of the things that you would like people to know? Because I think that, city services sometimes are in the background. Like some people really know how to, get into the system and find the resources or find, the information that they need. Other people are like, oh, I didn't know I could go to the City of Chicago website and find out about that. What would you like people to know that they have access to in the City of Chicago?
Absolutely. So just on April 1st, we've actually launched a new website for additional dwelling units for ADUs. They are now legal in many more places in the city of Chicago than they used to be. Back in 2020, we started a pilot where there were only 5 areas that were able to have ADUs, and now it's available in many, many more places. Over 30 wards have opted in some part or in whole to having ADUs in their wards. What that means is that if you've got that basement that maybe could be legally rentable, but you never quite got it there, you can actually do that through our ADU process now if you're in an eligible area. It means that maybe grandma can come live in the basement because she's too far on the other side of the city anymore, and you don't want to have her all that far, but you want to have a little bit of privacy. You want to have a little bit of space, of your own, be close to family, but maybe not too close. It means also that as other costs go up, right, we're all suffering from inflation and like just the bigger things that are happening in the world. You can also say, you know what, I'm going to rent this. Maybe I'm going to rent it at like a naturally occurring affordable housing, or NOAA as we call it, right? Which is probably that 1-bedroom that got rented, maybe just a little below market rate, because you know that who you're looking to rent to maybe can't afford quite as much as you could in other places, but that's still income, that's still a tenant that you can have there that you can trust, and that you really are building in the housing stock. We talk about it as gentle density. So on our website, you can find all sorts of things like that. Certainly the ADU website is a thing that we've just launched on April 1st. We're super proud of that. There's an interactive map, and you're able to start the process for adding on this conversion unit, as we call it. So again, that could be like a basement or an attic or a coach house if you've got the space out back.
That was one of our goals. We live in a 2-flat with my mom, and I should say she owns the building, and my husband and we raised 2 boys, and it was a great situation for us, and I agree. I mean, we are in the 2-flat. I used to hope, and we would love to be able to have what they call a granny flat or a coach house. Our coach houses still, I mean, those are harder to find and fewer and far between, aren't they?
They are, but it's the same thing. It's all part of the same ADU expansion where you can build a coach house. They have some extra regulations that you'll have to go through because it is a bigger process, but that is also part of what folks are able to determine through that ADU website. But certainly intergenerational living, and again, making the best choice for yourself and your family, that's the ultimate goal. Like if there's like one thing I could get tattooed on my forehead, it's like I want everyone to be able to make the best choice for themselves and their families without limitations of resources or what they have access to.
And remind folks of the website if they want to find out more about the ADUs or other services available through the Department of Housing in the city of Chicago.
That's chicago.gov/DOH.
Excellent. Lissette, it's so great to meet you. I'm really thrilled and would love to have you on anytime you want to make sure that our audience is well informed of what's happening in the Department of Housing. Again, it's really been a pleasure to talk to Commissioner Lissette Castañeda. Am I saying it right? Yeah. My Spanish is terrible.
Yeah, that's right.
My mom didn't teach me Spanish. Excellent.
You've done just great.
Lissette, it's a pleasure and really super proud of a fellow Laneite. Go Lane! Thank you.
Go Lane.
I'll talk to you again. Have a wonderful. Thank you. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye. Let's take a break here, and I'll continue with your phone calls when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150. So glad you're here.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922. And we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You know about Minocqua Brewing Company, a progressive beer brewed in Wisconsin for people who still believe in democracy, decency, and calling things by their real names. First up, I need you to hear the full name. It is and always will be the Gulf of Mexico Mexican Lager, because while a certain geographically challenged president tried to rename an entire body of water with a Sharpie, the rest of us said salud to our southern ally and 5 centuries of history. Crisp, refreshing, and it tastes like having a spine. Then there's Freedom Trail Kolsch, light, clean, named for the escape routes refugees took fleeing Nazi Germany, the ones they made a little movie about called Casablanca. A reminder that resistance has always been an American tradition. You can order both right now at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. They ship directly to you, and if you're in the western suburbs, find them locally at Prairie Food Co-op in Lombard, Coon Food and Liquor in Carroll Stream, Beer on the Wall in Arlington Heights, and AJ's Liquorland in Naperville and Aurora. Minocqua Brewing Company, brewing resistance one pint at a time.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue. Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our conversation here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 on WCPT here in Chicago every Sunday morning at 6 a.m. You're hearing Mark Gevaart, who joins us, the host of My Labor Radio. Hey, Mark, how are you doing today?
Fantastic for a Monday. How are you, Patty? Glad to have it here.
You know,
You're living through the hell, aren't you?
I generally try to ask. I've been coming back to asking people how they are because I think that I should probably check in with folks. But I also tend to ask them, are they staying hydrated? Are you staying hydrated, my friend?
Absolutely right. I am. Yes. I've drank 2 bottles of water, so I will be on a regular trip to the bathroom. Yes, I'm doing fine.
That's good. You got to flush everything out. You know what?
Right.
We don't need to get into details.
Trying to cleanse.
Exactly. I know. I've been thinking about doing some of these cucumber juicing cleanses or celery water. Yeah.
Yes, a kombucha, whatever works.
Oh, God, I know. So funny. I had a guest in one time who always comes in with kombucha, and I felt so bad because it was kind of backing up on them. I could tell they were like just struggling.
You were burping it?
Yes, they were. And I was just like,
really?
And I was like, let me turn your mic off.
Not for radio.
Yeah, it's not. It's not good radio. So how are you doing? How are you doing with the labor? Because Indiana is fascinating to me.
Crazy right now.
Okay, talk to us.
So first off, let's talk about what's going on when BP in March of this year decided to lock out the steelworkers. And this is United Steelworkers Local 7-1. Now they're in contract negotiations. So there is a master contract for the United States the steelworkers have at these oil refineries. And so they're working about the local issues, things like that. Well, of course, BP made $7.6 billion last year, and fourth quarter came in smoking hot for them. And this refinery, trust me, folks, when I tell you, they do more work than you ever had imagined. There is a lot of gas coming out of that area right there. That refinery is huge, and there's over 800 people working there that are now locked out. And their work is being done by scabs. There's a huge strike line there. It's not a strike. It is a lockout. So they were in negotiations, and they came to a point where BP said, sorry, we're done. We're done with you. Get out of here. We're locking you out. And these folks didn't get any warning. That was it. You know, one evening they're done, and the next morning there's no work anymore for them. They've been locked out since March 16th. So that's been a very strong run there. At the same time, something like that's going on, the steelworkers are facing another huge deal with NIPSCO in Northwest Indiana as well. 1,600 workers. Now, these are some clerical workers for Steelworkers Local 13796. And then the physical unit, these are the folks that take care of the pipelines and fixing things and making sure everything comes back up online and making sure everything maintains, which is Northern Indiana Public Service Company is what NIPSCO stands for. I get NIPSCO service for my natural gas that runs things at my house, and most people do across Northern Indiana here, and I'm all the way over in Fort Wayne, 2 hours away from them. This is in the South Bend area. It's also down to Kokomo, and these members, there's 1,600 of them were locked out. So attacking labor in Indiana and they're attacking the steelworkers. So you've got District 7, which is the steelworkers district, is Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana. Mike Millsap, who's the director of that, is now at 2 different negotiations tables with their leads. The folks, there's a lead for the NIPSCO team, there's a lead for the BP team, but Mike is working with them. And then Roxanne Brown, who's the president overall of the International Union, she came in, she stopped by on the strike line. But hey, I got to laugh when I see Mike Braun show up. This is the governor of Indiana. Now, when has he been labor friendly in any time in his life? Well, guess what? He decided this is the moment because they know there's a desperate time for the GOP in Indiana because there are some grassroots things happening here. And I'm looking forward to this primary coming up, and that starts on April 6th, tomorrow. You can start early voting in Indiana for the primary. It's the May 5th primary, but we have early voting.
I think April 6th, isn't April 6th today? April 6th might be today because tomorrow is the primary in Wisconsin. So
Yes. So what we have is you're done. You have to have your registration done already, which that's what I talk about endlessly on my show is you already have to know that your registration's in and done because you can pick it back up after the primary is over with for the November election if you didn't get it done. But this is what we always I constantly talk about on the show at the end of the show. Check your registration. Here's a link. Go find out and just make sure you're in there. So attacking labor is an amazing thing. At the same time, all these votes are happening. And the grassroots things that are happening are union members running for office in multiple places for House districts, for Senate districts as well. That's changed a lot of things, which brought Mike Braun, the governor, to that BP site in late, it was like the 23rd or 24th. He shows up and starts shaking hands first thing in the morning, welcoming everybody. I'm here for you guys. I'm going to be with you. What?
Oh,
not
my
a
God.
chance. It's just plain BS. His last line before he leaves is, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to let BP know they need to get back to the table.
Yeah, I'll bet.
See, Mike, they're really going to listen to you.
Wow. Well,
so, hey, there's a nutshell for Indiana. What do you think of that?
Yeah, no. Well, and I do wonder, I've been thinking about how much it's, there are these races across the country and a lot of candidates are running against, what Trump stands for and what he's done. And we need to deliver what we want to accomplish. And are you seeing that in a lot of these races across Indiana?
Big time. In fact, there's a lot of folks, there's not a lot of Democrats fighting it out in this primary time. It's pretty much, there's a few pockets here and there, but overall you're finding if a union member's running or there's a solid candidate, they're stepping back and saying, hey, let's make sure you're our person here to run against this Republican later in the year. I've talked to multiple ones, and they've laid out their plan for the year. They've already planned on winning. They're the only one on the Democratic ticket. But it's a great thing because I've never seen in the last 30 years of paying attention to politics in Indiana this many union members stepping forward to say, I'm done. If not who, it's me. I'm going to do it. If not now, when? That type of thing. So it's kind of exciting to watch.
Wow, that's remarkable. I feel like I spend so much time paying attention to what's happening in Wisconsin because I go up there door knocking and stuff, and it seems as though races in Indiana are more challenging. Just that I'm not saying I go for the easier ones, but they're a lot more flippable. There's more paths, but it sounds as though we've got a good infrastructure. I know the Dems in Indiana have been working really hard, so we got to go do some door knocking in Indiana. Is all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, Northwest Indiana is a very strong labor spot there too.
Sure.
And it's just down the street from you. You could be there in an hour, and they'd love to have you. I guarantee it.
Well, let's get it done.
I know the work you've got. Absolutely, figure out how and where.
No, I got to figure out the name because we are fibs for Wisconsin. I don't think that Indiana folks call us. What do you guys call us? We're not fibs because you guys have the same letter.
Well, it's still Flatlanders to me.
Flatlanders for Indiana. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna take a couple calls with you because I don't. Do you mind? Because you're also a host here at WCPT. Folks can hear.
Yeah.
Our friend Mark Gevaart from Fort Wayne, Indiana, the host of My Labor Radio each Sunday morning at 6 a.m. And also for voters, you want to go to indianavoters.com. You were mentioning about checking your registration. Is that where they can check their voter registration?
Absolutely. Yep.
Indianavoters.com. Early voting starts tomorrow and continues until the day before the May 5th primary. You can also find more about Mark's show at mylaborradio.org. And we have listeners that have been on hold for a while. So I want to take Steve from Des Plaines. Steve, you wanted to call back about a conversation we had on Friday?
Yeah, I like to dovetail with that. But before your guest there, I just want to let him know I'm a 30-year tuck pointer, bricklayer, painter. So I have an affinity with the union movement.
Thank you.
I've always worked for myself, so I was in the union for a little while when I was really young. But
you got to get started. That was a good apprenticeship. Yes, a good apprenticeship, brother.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then so my hats off to you and the union movement and all my brothers in the union for sure. But anyway, Patty, on Friday, you were on fire, girl, and I was on fire with you. When I called on Friday, I wasn't hydrated, so I was dry bones angry.
See, you gotta stay hydrated, my friend.
That's right. But anyway, I spent 3 years in the Marine Corps. At the end of Vietnam, I volunteered for Vietnam twice, okay, just to give a background. Now, I was so proud when they pulled the second pilot out of danger.
Yeah.
It was amazing that they pulled it off. I mean, the American military is so brilliant and so professional, and it's unfortunate that their commander-in-chief is such a pud.
And their Secretary of War Crimes, too, yeah.
Yes. And in that vein, I have to kind of like say, I mean, God forgive me, there's a part of me that's kind of rooting for the Iranians. I admit it. When I say rooting, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like.
I mean, that's what we're being accused of. That's what it's not a matter of that. I just want this to be over, and I'm worried about retaliation is my biggest thing. Steve, it was good. I have to run and say goodbye to our friend from Indiana as well. So thank you so much for calling in, Steve. We'll talk more about it. I promise. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about cheering for I mean, I think I get where he's coming from, but that's not quite it.
Right, to say it that way really sounds rough. Yeah. It's rough to hear that, but I think you're on the right track because the repercussions and the things that could develop as far as attacking us somewhere else is really rough
for generations to come. By the way,
correct. They don't forget. They do not forget.
That's the thing. I mean, if they bomb one of our kids' schools, I mean, would you ever sleep without thinking about retaliation? I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
So that's not. Well, we invited Mark on to talk about their primary, and I'd love to check in with you again very soon in a few weeks. Let's check in before the primary, before voting ends, right? So
you're absolutely right. Let's do that. Yes.
Yeah, before May 5th.
Give you a feel for it, right? I'll give you a feel for it because I can get some numbers towards what at least the primary folks are coming in for early voting, and that's always a great sign. If we get close to that primary time of May 5th, let's talk about it. I'll have some numbers ready for you.
Let's do that. Come on back the week before the primary.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you,
Count
Mark.
on it.
Everyone,
Great to see you again.
Good to see you too. MyLaborRadio.org. Again, that's MyLaborRadio.org. You can hear him every Sunday morning at 6 a.m. right here on WCPT 820. Thanks, Mark. Mark of Art.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Let's take a break
See ya.
here, and we'll continue our conversation on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Hey, Progressives, it's Richard Chew,
Thank you,
host
sir.
of Chew's Views weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. Central. We're all anxious for the 2026 midterm election to arrive so we can restore some sanity and much-needed oversight to our government. In fact, it's the most important midterm election in American history, and Chew's Views will be in the thick of it, bringing you candidate interviews on a regular basis. I'll be talking to Democratic Party hopefuls running for House and Senate at the federal and state level, as well as candidates for governor and other state and local offices.
I am in love with our ability to fight for our rights, to fight for our future, to fight for our freedoms, to fight as our ancestors fought. It's just our moment. This is just our time to stand up and to speak up. We can't give up on this.
If you miss any of the interviews live, you'll be able to find them all on WCPT's candidate interviews page at heartlandsignal.com/candidates. That's Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years.
File now with TurboTax and Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy tonight with a couple of snow showers, a low temperature of 29 degrees, and winds out of the north at 15 to 30. Tuesday, chance of snow in the morning, otherwise sunny, with a high temperature of 36, and northeast winds at 5 to 10. Wednesday, showers early in the day, otherwise partly sunny, high of 64, and south winds at 15 to 30. On Thursday, a chance of showers and storms with a high of 68. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 50.
There are 1,000 ways to say it.
Nope. Knock it off. Shut it down. Dream on. No dice. Give it a rest. Not a chance.
Or just
all text. You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
We got out of Washington State, and I think a week after, state went on lockdown for COVID.
So then when we transitioned to Texas, it was very much so like, what are we going to do now?
Operation Homefront has allowed our family to make something of ourselves again in the world after the military.
It's completely changed the way our life is. It took us from a hopeless situation, and now we're homeowners. We have a savings account. I'm the first one to own a home out of my siblings.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
With Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us for this drive home, and thank you to our sponsors, Pride Coffee Roasters, Source Solar, Are You Really Winning, Minocqua Brewing Company, and Pride Coffee Roasters, Source Solar, Minocqua Brewing. I should really write these things down, Mike. And I also want to thank our friends listening on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, joining our friends in Seattle on KKNW 1150 in Seattle, and thank you so much, of course, everyone listening in Chicago on WCPT 820 or anywhere in the world on Facebook, on heartlandsignal.com, on YouTube, because now you can join us for a conversation with Mike Bedenbaugh, Navy veteran, historic preservationist, and author of Reviving Our Republic. Hey, Mike, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me in the room tonight.
Absolutely. Well, I also try to ask people if they're staying hydrated. Are you staying hydrated? I've got my cup of water going. I swear it's water.
Right here.
Cheers. Oh, that's a nice big water bottle you got there.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think there's so much to talk about. As a veteran, first of all, did you watch the press conference today?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch the press conference. I was running around all over, but I could kind of predict what was said and how it was said, and the horrible tone that we tend to want to communicate around the world. I mean, when did the conservative movement believe you had to act like Biff from Back to the Future? You know, it's like Biff is their hero now.
Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? It's not even the right joke. It's not even the right.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't understand it.
Oh.
I just don't. I mean, thank goodness they found the servicemen and they were able to get them out. But it's just this prideful elevation of, look what we can do and nobody else can. I was raised differently. I don't know where all these other folks came from to think that's a good way to talk to people. I don't know.
Well, and also having served in the military, I mean, is this how it seems to me? It puts it puts everybody in danger. It puts civilians there in danger. It puts civilians here. Sending our men and women into combat, into these situations where when their bodies come back, and now it's 13, right? And he did that. What did you think that day of the dignified transfer of fallen soldiers when he showed up in his baseball hat that was then available for a $55 donation on his website? Like, what the frickin' frack are we doing?
Oh, that's the way it rolls. There's nothing surprises me about the crass, vulgar marketing, reality TV that this man thinks is leadership. And listen, I'm down here in South Carolina, and I ran for Congress in this district, one of the reddest districts in the country, as an independent. And I've got a lot of good friends down here who just automatically assume whatever he says. Thank goodness he's strong. We need strength. And I'm like, you think that's strong? That's just weak, crass, vulgar commercialism. And I don't get it. You know, honestly, this issue is not about Trump.
Okay.
It really isn't. This issue is about how a certain sense of support has coagulated around this energy field of mean-spirited bullying. And it's not going away.
No.
Anytime soon. I mean, I kind of saw this stuff starting to happen, and that's why I wrote the book, Reviving Our Republic, so we can kind of get the conversation to understanding what a republic is.
Well, it's not a democracy, you know. We live in a republic. But then you don't even understand what that means.
I mean, I've had that. You know, I understand intellectually what they're saying, but it's been, as everything, it's been so weaponized into this theory. Here's the thing that they're really saying. You know, I'm a constitutional conservative in the sense of how the Constitution should be read and everything. I understand technically a republic is not a democracy, because a democracy is when people vote in their own laws. But the reason the founders distrusted democracy, pure democracy, was because it would lead to tyranny through megalomaniac dictators. Right? That's what democracies tend to vote their pocketbook and their egos, which is why we have checks and balances. The irony is those same people screaming this is not a democracy is actually acting as if the outcome of a pure democracy is happening, where you're just following the leader you elected and think his only constituents are those who voted for him, not the whole country, which is, you know, so it's all absurd theater is what it is.
It is absurd theater that is also
deadly
and a grift. You know, I mean, like the amount of wealth that they have accumulated, and these deals that his sons had made with the what do they call it? They made a deal with some of the military equipment. Right.
I mean, I don't know all the details of it, but I know there is so many deals going on with developments in Qatar, what Qatar has done. And these same people fuss when Hunter Biden got $30,000 a year from the oil company in Ukraine, which of course was wrong. But it's like, really, you focus on that and you totally don't understand they're making billions of dollars
with these drone
off of
contracts, and also off of men and women being sent to war, on civilians being killed. Can I ask you a question about the first day the bombings started when we attacked Iran? And that day, I waited as long, like for 9 hours, until other news outlets were reporting the hit on the girls' school. But the immediate sort of like cover, like trying to explain it away. First, it was Iranian girls don't even go to school, or you're lying. It was Iran that hit it. The lies were so fast and furious, and the White House never denied that they hit a girls' school, did they?
No, they never denied it. They never denied it. Let me tell you, I did a video on my Reviving Our Republic with Mike Bedenbaugh, and Rick Steves did an amazing segment from Iran in 2011 where he's talking to students, and so many people are loving Americans, and I superimposed that within my experience of being in Russia in 1990 and how much Russians loved talking with me and thinking, we love America. And you know what? We didn't have to bomb Russia in order to make the Soviet Union fall. And I use that analogy because 80% of Iranians want to be part of something and positive. But if we sit here and constantly talk about and treat them like second-class citizens and this prejudice against Islam that they are in, we're setting up a terrible failure and a terrible disjustice to these people who really want to be our friends. They're going to have a hard time wanting to be our friends if he does what he's calling to do now, which is obliterate bridges, and it's just not good.
Well, and the idea that the Iranians want us to bomb them is something that was also that the citizens of Iran are thrilled that we're doing. I just can't even like like you said, if Trump says it, then it must be true or it's right, and I don't. Right. I don't
get it either. But the silver lining playbook of all of this is the fact that I'm hoping it wakes up America's consumptive tendencies just to soak up whatever's on the last 5 minutes of newsreels and realize we have a governing structure that guides us, the type of government we have, and it can be fixed. And hopefully, I hope and pray before too much damage is done that this will wake people up to why we have checks and balances in government, why we understand people can be corrupted through power and how they can just take things and go off the deep end on power. And that's exactly what's happening now in the administration. And hopefully this will teach us what we need to do.
And what do you see that path? Because I remember when during Drowsy Donnie's first administration, and he went out there and had the protesters tear gas during the Black Lives Matter marches, and he held that Bible upside down. And I just remember thinking, where's the Supreme Court then, right? Before it got even worse. But the idea of the Supreme Court, in the meantime, has basically said the president can get away with whatever he wants, and not just the Supreme Court, but like courtroom after courtroom, judge after judge has found that things that this administration are doing is illegal, and it doesn't seem to slow them down. If anything, it just slows us down because we keep having to go to court, and even carrying out this war. There's no, or going into Venezuela. What?
Yeah, well, what it's shown is, one, I do have more optimism for the Supreme Court than many others do, because I think the Supreme Court is a textualist, originalist interpretation, which I actually have, because I see it as, listen, if you're going to be the referee judging this, if you decide something, then we now know what needs to be fixed, and we do either an amendment or we deal with it. It's been so politicized that people get distracted with the Supreme Court's off the rails, we need to change the court, instead of just going, okay, here's the amendment we need to do. The thing is, there's a reason Donald Trump put in the picture of Andrew Jackson in his first term in the White House, in the Oval Office, because Andrew Jackson famously disregarded the Supreme Court's rulings regarding kicking the states being able to kick the Native Americans out and send them to Oklahoma back in the 1820s. So he famously just said, well, where's their army? When they said, no, the states had no right to do that. So that's where we are now. And hopefully it doesn't get so bad that we can't fix this thing, because there's several trajectories this nation could go on, and there's several that are devastating that we could do. I mean, I could see this leading to the breakup of the union if certain things didn't take effect and push back on all of this. I really do. I'm around people that want it.
They want the union to be split.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's people down here now that are part of secession groups.
Yeah, it's funny because we have secession groups in Illinois that want to leave, that want Chicago to be its own. They don't have anything to do with Chicago. They want to be part of Indiana. I mean, I don't know how much energy or how much how much viability that has, but no, I get that. Believe me, I don't want us to secede. I want to move to Ireland or someplace.
Well, the thing is, I used to think, one, I'm a student of history, and I have the wonderful sense of knowledge. I've always studied history. I love knowing history, but I'm also burdened by knowing history. And I know enough of our nation's history that this place can go off the skids really quick. It can go bad quickly. I mean, in our, the Civil War has been somewhat romanticized in the way Ken Burns shot it, and had the little documentary. But our state lost 20% of its fighting age males in 4 years. 20% wiped away. So this thing can go bad if we don't pay attention.
It's funny. I was talking to one of our producers here, Andy Miles, about. So my degree's in history, and I actually spent time in South Carolina. I did my honors thesis in college was about Edgefield County, South Carolina.
Edgefield County.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
It was.
Where were you?
I was in. Well, my professor was from '96.
I just sold a house in '96.
Did you really?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so wait, you might actually. What am I talking about? You might know Vernon Burton. He was in my father's house. Are many mansions.
Oh my gosh! Yes. Of course I do.
I don't know why I'm even dancing around this. I'm like, no, Vernon Burton was my mentor, convinced me to go to grad school instead of law school. I probably should have gone to law school because I dropped out of grad school. At any rate. But to your point, and we should have longer conversations about this, but I did one called, my paper was on the Dear Ones at Home, about the women who were back at home while the soldiers were off, fighting this war.
During the war, Civil War?
Yeah, it was about the Civil War. It was basically the system of welfare that South Carolina came up with in order to make sure that the women were begging their husbands to come home because there was such a huge problem with desertion. So at any rate, that's a story for another time.
No, but that's fascinating, though, in Edgefield, because Edgefield's a fascinating community that I did a lot of preservation work there and have a lot of good friends there.
I'll have to send you a link to it's under the name Patricia D. Bonin, and I'm in the South Carolina Journal of History. And sometimes my paper, it's wild. Sometimes my paper is used for other people when they're doing, I'm finding it cited in other people's work, and I was 20. At any rate, but to your point about, we know enough about history to know that this could be a mess. For me, I think about World War II and how vulnerable we were and came back from the brink of this country, being lost forever as well. And there's so much more in place now that, whether it's the Supreme Court, the propaganda machine from the Fox networks, and all of the different elements and to your point, that people are buying this. I just have never seen this many people willing to swallow the crap that someone like Trump is shoveling.
Well, there's several things that unpack all this, and my philosophy on how I see what's happened, especially since World War II, because America tends, as much as we love to say home of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave, we're really not that brave when it comes to people doing things to us. We get really scared very quick, and we tend to have a fear-based reactionary system. So what happened after World War II was we wanted to say never again, but we built, in order to keep this from ever happening again, another event like World War II, was this huge hegemonic world domineering power thinking that we're going to make war more difficult to do against us. Yet we've been in more war. How long has our wars happened? World War II we took care of in 4 years with the whole country animated toward it. Now we've gone through Vietnam 20 years, and we live in a state of perpetual war, which is why this thing going on in Iran is really being pushed by those who push perpetual war because of the profit motives on perpetual war.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, it's being led by someone who is totally illiterate in how the gas market works and the strategy. How many people have told me that Trump knows how to play chess? Yeah, well, his chessboard now is the Strait of Hormuz, and he didn't even take a moment to think all they need is 2 or 3 rockets, and they can close the Strait of Hormuz, because no insurance is going to cover ships going through that.
Nope.
So for them not even to think that, it's a high, elevated sense of their own power, the strongest military in the world, that always gets people into trouble.
Yeah.
Always gets nations into trouble who think that way.
Well, and to your point again, what the Bidens were accused of, and whether it was Hunter, but also that prices went up under President Biden. That Russia invaded Ukraine and disrupted the world supply.
Oh, I love talking to folks, because during that time here, somebody from the Republican Party, I assume, put little stickers of Biden. Have you seen those? Put little stickers of Biden. Yeah, I did that. Well, I tell you what, they're not putting stickers of Trump. And this is where the Democratic Party drives me nuts. They just don't organize very well. Not that I'm a big advocate for any of the major parties, but for them not to have stickers, I did this, to go on all the gas stations like they did Biden, it's absurd.
I have. I'm trying to find the photo. I was in Wisconsin. There are some I did that stickers going up of Trump underneath, like the price of diesel, and especially the price of diesel, because you got your truck drivers suffering.
Well, I just thought of something else for Map Media and try to sell some stickers. So I need to get busy because they're not doing it down here.
I don't know if you can see the. I did that.
Oh
right?
My gosh, that's great. That's great. Well, I would expect it to be Wisconsin or Minnesota. They're on the front lines of what the militarized shock troops of this administration are doing anyway. So good for them.
Well, Mike, we've been talking to Mike Bedenbaugh, because I believe I said it wrong the first time I heard you say your own name. It's Mike Bedenbaugh.
That's it. Good job.
Mike Bedenbaugh, a Navy veteran, historic preservationist, and author of Reviving Our Republic. You can go to MikeBedenbaugh.com. That's BEDENBAUGH.com. And I'd like to have you back on in the next few weeks, if you don't mind, catch up with you. Maybe do.
I'll be here anytime you want. And the best site actually is RevivingOurRepublic.com.
Okay. Oh,
there you can get the book and learn all the ways that we can fix this ship of state that desperately needs fixing, but can be.
I want the strategy. Next conversation's about the strategy. Sound good?
You got it. Thank you so much.
I'm so thrilled to talk to you about Vernon Burton. We'll have to catch up sometime about.
You got it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
All right.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye. Let's take a break here, and we'll continue our conversation. I know we got some calls on hold, so I want to get to that. One caller's been on hold for over an hour, Mike. So.
Oh my.
Yeah. All right.
Bless his heart.
Right. More in a moment.
In 1776, we defied a corrupt king, and the America we love was born from that defiance. Now it's time to do it again. America is in crisis, but patriots across the country are standing up to save her for ourselves and our posterity. Show your support with the No Kings lapel pin, a 1-inch by 1-inch standard American flag lapel pin embedded with our No King symbol. So much better than that tacky red hat. It's a subtle but powerful way to say you've had enough of wannabe dictators and you're doing something about it. Every day, keep our movement going by wearing this pin that clearly says what freedom-loving Americans are thinking. There are no kings in America, and there never will be. Go to store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. That's store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Get your No Kings lapel pin now.
Progressive knows life takes you in many directions.
Bear right at exit 32, then begin to wonder why you never bought a fish tank. In 1.3 miles, you'll realize you've been mispronouncing epitome your whole life. At the roundabout, you will remember you said something at dinner you wish you hadn't, and will think about it for decades. You have arrived at your destination, but it turns out there really is no destination, and life just keeps going.
Wherever life takes you, protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Is credit card or other debt making it difficult to pay your rent or mortgage? Home insecurity is often the unintended consequence of an inability to pay mounting credit card debt, student loans, or medical debt. But by working with a nonprofit credit counselor, you can avoid or reduce the risk of eviction or foreclosure while tackling debt for good. For more information about how nonprofit credit counseling can help, visit nfcc.org. Made possible in part by the nonprofit Wells Fargo Foundation.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
I do want to get right to our phone calls and texts, 773-763-9278. I apologize. I couldn't, there was so much in our conversation that I didn't get a chance to get to our texts that were in response to some of the conversation with Mike Bedenbaugh. Let me get to those in a moment. But first, I want to get to our listener who's been on hold for over an hour, Steve in Brookfield. What's on your mind, Steve?
Hey, I guess I've been holding on for a lot of things for a lot of time.
Oh boy!
Thank you. Thanks for not hanging up on me.
No,
I just wanted to lighten things up and speak from like the bottom of my bottom, and tell you that this orange turd that's been on the scene has made my own butt cheeks political. Because my right cheek, my right cheek is constantly blaming the left with the smear campaign, and you know what? It's always the orange turd in the middle, and he's a monster, and no kings, and he is the lying king of the Capitol, as I have on my T-shirts at home.
Oh boy!
And I call him Resident Dump. Don't call him President. You know,
Resident Dump. Resident Dump.
That's what he's been doing.
Oh man, are you
so? Anyway,
do you? Is your community? Do you have conversations with people in your community? Because I'm always surprised. Like there are very conservative. Go ahead.
I got some neighbors I can't believe, and I used to walk a little Chihuahua around, and you catch just even from that. I'm not going to know you ever Mexico.
Really?
And I'd be like, yeah.
Oh boy.
I'd be proud, and I got gay neighbors. Married gay, and I thought things were rolling so strong and through the, horizon with Obama. I knew there was this right wing garbage out there talking about a tan suit, but
sure.
Now it's just.
I know, it's a lot.
Hopefully, the youngs. They're doing more of the the YouTubes and little vignette kind of news or whatever they're doing.
Right. Well, there's a lot of citizen journalists, independent journalists. The thing is, though, that there's a flood of the conservative side of the internet too, and the more the more. Yep. Go ahead.
They're funded probably somehow, but they're rich mom and dads or some kind of thing.
Yeah.
These super PACs, it's a monster spider of garbage. Citizens United, I could spout just these evil, things that I don't have the words left to articulate because I'm diminished in several faculties. You did say to keep hydrated, right?
Yes, you got to stay hydrated so you can stay in the fight, my friend.
Yeah. I was a little hydrated a couple times while I was waiting on that. So it's all hit me a little bit now,
I hear. What were you hydrating with, may I ask?
The Minocqua stuff brought me back to the day when I worked up in Elko as a Boy Scout counselor. But anyway, a little bit of vodka and tequila.
Wait, did you say you were a Boy Scout counselor in Elkhorn?
Elko, Wisconsin, and Minocqua was one of our day off.
So that was up there. That was way up north.
Yeah. It was the fun summers.
Gotcha. Well, Steve, I'm so grateful that you hung in there, and I hope that you can spend more time with your kind neighbors and avoid those who are not quite so pleasant.
You can't see the ones come off my back porch and I see, congratulations, you guys got it. And it's like, this guy's from Russia and it's just maddening. He's flying Ukraine flags, and yet he congratulated.
Well, have a good evening, my friend. I look forward to talking to you again, okay?
All righty.
Thanks for hanging in there.
Kelly, just think, vote, think again, vote correct. Fill in the blank,
Yep, I hear you. Thanks, my friend.
So, yeah,
Have a good night.
God bless you.
God bless you. Joining me in studio is comedian Joe Kilgallon, who's going to be joining me for a fundraiser with Kids Above All coming up in June. I believe I said June 11th.
Yes, at the Den Theater.
Yeah, the Den Theater. It's going to be
great spot.
And it's the show. Like it's me, you, Katie Miners, Kevin Bozeman, and Annabelle Laval.
That's a great lineup.
I mean, what?
I would pay for a ticket to that show.
Right, me too.
And I don't pay for much.
I'm saying, like,
but I would for that.
When what was funny is I had gotten the comics that I had put out for a couple of headliners, right? For you, for Kevin, but I wanted another woman on the show, right? And so I asked Anna, and I hadn't heard from her. Like I had asked her like a bit ago, and I was waiting on her because it affects the budget, right? So then all of a sudden she's like, oh yeah, I can do that. And so I had to call the organizers and go, do you mind if I blow them? I sent out 2 emails that took a chance on one of them. Anna did this years ago, but the other one I sent, I was like, I'll just take a swing at Hannibal Buress. I mean, why not? And I didn't hear back from him.
Yeah,
but
that's tough.
But I didn't want to tell them, because I don't want to get anybody excited. Because he's very kind. He supported me when I ran for office, as you did. And
that's great. Yeah, I love Hannibal. Hannibal was very, very helpful to me when I first started doing stand-up. I was just an open micer, and he helped me in ways that he didn't really need to.
Oh, that's wonderful. I have a story. Like I was surprised that he took my phone calls when he was my feature act when I was pregnant with. I think it was Declan was little, so I want to say like 2006 when we were going through a lot of like therapy sessions with Declan, like for PT and early intervention. I was supposed to work at Zanies in Vernon Hills. I was headlining, and Hannibal called and asked if I could drive him, if I could give him a ride, and like the only time I had any quiet was in my car. I felt really bad because, and the other thing in my brain was also like, as an MC, I had to drive the headliners, right? And I was like, are you kidding me that I'm the headliner and I still got to drive the other comics? Like in my brain, but he seemed to be okay with that.
I wonder what weekend that was, because there was a time where he texted me saying, "Hey, if you're free tonight, I'll give you $50 to drive me to Vernon Hills." Oh my
God!
I swear, he asked me once to do that. But it's odd that you're like,
I remember
the drive is the only quiet you get.
Yeah.
He's like the quietest guy sometimes.
I know, but it's still, like you're still kind of self-conscious. Like I'm the kind of person who has to fill silence, and which can be which annoys me. And then I'm like, am I annoying them? Yeah, I'm not a good quiet. Yeah, I like to sing loudly in my car. Work on punchlines sometimes.
I do too. After a really good set, I'll blast a song and scream, sing it the whole way home.
Yeah. So at any rate, but Hannibal has forgiven me, I think.
I'll find out. I'll text him right now. We'll read it on the air.
He came in generously in my campaign, so that was I was like surprised. Believe me. All right, let's take a break here. We're gonna catch up with comedian Joe Kilgallon. I'm guessing he's got a couple 2-3 thoughts on things that are happening politically. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Seattle. We're glad you're here, and hi to everybody watching on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook, all the places. Let me press this button.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy tonight with a couple of snow showers, a low temperature of 29 degrees, and winds out of the north at 15 to 30. Tuesday, chance of snow in the morning, otherwise sunny, with a high temperature of 36, and northeast winds at 5 to 10. Wednesday, showers early in the day, otherwise partly sunny, high of 64, and south winds at 15 to 30. On Thursday, a chance of showers and storms with a high of 68. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 52.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
If you're purchasing a new home and working with Rocket Mortgage, listen very closely. Carly, 54, first-time home buyer, income 65 G's a year, contacted Rocket Mortgage for a mortgage. Rocket locked her into a 25-year fixed FHA loan at 6.125%, which sounds great until I reviewed Rocket's loan documents. Carly didn't know Rocket placed her into a 25-year fixed loan, not a 30-year fixed loan like she wanted. Carly also didn't know Rocket Mortgage charged her over $5,000 to lower her rate. I explained why I thought it wasn't in her financial best interest to buy down the rate, and that's why Team Hochberg, not Rocket Mortgage, will be helping Carly with her mortgage. Let's review. Rocket Mortgage placed Carly into a loan she didn't want and didn't understand why Rocket charged her to secure a lower rate. If you want to work with a lender you can trust, give us a call now at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. 855-563-2843 or visit our website 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
I've tried everything to stand out at work. Donuts, a company coffee blend, even dressed as the company mascot for Halloween.
There's an easier way. A ComEd facility assessment. Their engineer gave my company free insights and actions that saved us $732,000 on energy. Easy, right?
Learn how ComEd can help you save at ComEd.com/facility assessment. ComEd, powering lives. Savings will vary based on customers' usage and rate.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or
Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our conversation and Driving It Home on WCPT 820 in Chicago, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. Thank you all for joining us, as well as everyone watching on Facebook Live or YouTube. Joining me in studio is comedian Joe Kilgallon. He's also a neighbor. We're both Northwest Siders over by here.
Yes.
And I know that like people make fun of me when I talk about the weather, but I can't. This is so chaotic for me. It's 70 degrees. It's 35. Tomorrow's going to be 37 degrees again.
Oh, God. That's the thing that most people do not understand when it comes to Chicago weather. Because you meet people from other winter cities, you know, Philadelphia, New York, what have you. And I tell them, I go, you don't understand. We get this back and forth wild thing. And it's rough. Like, I went to my first Chicago Fire game this past Saturday. I'd never gone to one before. And it was colder than the Bears game I went to in November. I'm not kidding, because I went to a Bears game at Soldier Field in November, and I was okay. I bundled up for this, too, knowing it was going to be cold. It was like a frozen tundra, which actually is apparently that those two words mean this. It's redundant. They mean the same thing.
I would not have been angry.
But yes, it's very much unbearable.
Yeah, I don't like. I remember the first time that I felt when we were kids, and there was like a warm day in January. I mean, it was glorious. I remember like I actually remember this. We played kickball one time in January because it was so warm when I was in 6th or 7th grade. So I remember that, right? Those glorious ones. But I also remember playing softball at Lane. We were at Horner Park, and it was snowing, and I did not want to hit the ball because we had aluminum bats and that sting.
Oh, that was the worst.
My God, it was so cold. It was snowing. It was miserable. There's just certain days of your life that you remember around the weather. It's usually sports related, apparently, for me too.
Oh, a lot of people have that. Yeah.
It's just anyway.
That's a top 5 worst feeling. Now that I'm thinking about it,
hitting a bat in the cold.
A cold bat, like when your hand stings because you didn't square it up. You know, that is a top 5 awful feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it just can't, like your whole body, it goes to, your bone marrow is like jiggling. I don't like that. I just have that memory of it. Not that I was like a power hitter or anything. I was a what do you call it? I can't remember what they used to call me. Utility.
Punch and Judy?
I can hit the ball. I can get on base, you know.
It's probably a sexist term now that I think about it. A punch and Judy hitter? That was a term people used for a long time.
Because I'm a lefty, I was a pretty good drag bunter. I was I was fast. I was
like Brett Butler from the Dodgers. He was a good drag bunter. I'm trying to think of 80s baseball players that would line up with you. He was a good one.
Yeah, well, one of my coaches said, "Who do you think you're, Sarge?" Because I would like be moving the bat.
Gary Matthews.
Who do you think you are? I don't know. I just think it looks cool. Did you play baseball?
Yes.
Yeah. So my mom, because I was the only girl on my team at Norwood, my mom she goes, Patricia, when you go to bat, you look like you're scared, you're desperate for them to be nice to you. Go up there and spit. Look angry. So I go up there and I'm like hitting my cleats with my baseball bat, spitting, grabbing my grouch. No, I just
you got to adjust that cup, know.
At any rate, do your kids play sports yet?
Yes. They both played indoor soccer this past season. It just wrapped up. And, I had a really fun parenting moment in that regard because my oldest son, he didn't want to play the year before. And he's a straight A student, and he's gotten really into chess. I actually brought him. There's this place called Chess Coffee Club or something. It's on Irving. It's like near Irving and Kedzie. And I saw that they had opened tournaments on Sunday, and he'd been wanting to play. I'm no challenge. He kills me. I can't beat him. So he played, and he got matched up with this 60-year-old, and it took the 60-year-old did win, but it took the guy forever. And everyone who wasn't in a game was watching him play. Sure. So that was a really cool dad moment. But anyway, he decided he wanted to play this year. No push from me at all. And he had a great season. He was so much more aggressive than he was 2 years ago when he was playing. So sometimes you just got to give kids time, I realized. And it kind of made me think, just give them a little time. Sometimes everyone's at their own little pace sometimes. And if a kid's not, because I think the way modern parents are, because they've ruined youth sports. Youth sports are still terrible. Greg Olson, former Bears tight end, has a podcast where he interviews former Major League Baseball players, and they talk about how they've ruined youth baseball. Because even though he was an NFL player, he's coaching his son's youth baseball team. And with the travel ball and all this stuff, it's a racket. It's really what it is. So, but, a lot of parents, what it's done is it's written off the late bloomer. There's been a lot of kids. I had friends of mine who became all-conference high school baseball players, and they were terrible till they were 12. They hit puberty later, and then they became good athletes. But now those kids are getting phased out because they're telling parents, if you're not in 7 leagues by the time you're 9, you have no shot, which is awful, really.
Oh, my God.
And nobody should be in that many leagues when they're 9. That's why people are burning out. So it's just a whole mess of things. But long story short, I got encouraged knowing that if you just give them a little space, sometimes they make their own way, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, even in what year was I? I coached T-ball at Norwood when I was 16, so it would have been 1987, 1988, and it was just T-ball, it was just 5 and 6 year olds, right? And I remember, everyone's got to play. We're all these kids are learning, and some of the parents would be like, there were 2 kids that were really good. They were twins, and they were really good, and I'm like, I still everyone. Fine, they play, they're great, and they were fun, and they enjoyed it. Like, I could already see that these parents were going to ruin it for them down the road about like yelling at their kid and why isn't my kid playing there? And because I wanted everyone to have a chance to figure out. At 5 years old, you should figure out. I'm not going to like make you play one position for the whole season because your parents think you should be the third baseman I'm like, see what you like at 5, 6.
They really shouldn't even keep score at 5.
No.
I remember playing T-ball at the age of 7. They didn't have. At Portage Park in the northwest side of Chicago, they didn't have it for 5 or 6 year olds. They weren't even. You're too young. They said you weren't allowed to play. We
had like a rag ball, and it was it was really fun. I still have pictures of the guys that I coached with. But at any rate, because they didn't want me to coach they wanted me to coach, but they were like, let's bring in some boys. So it was Gary Duzak, and I can't remember who the other kid was. But at any rate, and me, and I just had all these great memories of it. But I only could do it one season with the parents. I was like, nah, I'm not. This is not for me. And then when Griffin played soccer, Griffin's like me, where he'll just get lost in thought. Like we have pictures of him standing in the middle of the field. They had to put him in the goalie because that was he'd be paying attention. Otherwise, he'd be in the middle of the field telling stories to some of the other kids, like distracting them.
That's very common. Yeah.
It's just like, could you pay attention?
There's always the one. That's my only thing I've ever given my son some guff about. It's like, I don't care if you're amazing. I don't care if all I want you to do is pay attention.
Yes.
That's the bare minimum. Because also that's how kids get hurt.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, I don't know if this is funny, but whenever a kid does get hurt, I always go, see? You see what I mean? That could have been you. You got very lucky this time around. This is why I tell you to pay attention. Do you get it? Like,
Is there
I use him as an example.
I never played soccer. Is there razzing in soccer? Is there like in baseball you get, because you have a lot of time in the dugout to yell at each other. We want a pitcher, not a bat. Do they even do that anymore? Is that still
No, not with soccer, I don't think, because it's a sport where, A lot of Americans don't like it because it's not high scoring or whatever. It's a little slow for them. But it's not slow if you're playing. It's constant movement. There's no timeouts. That's why they do that whole extra time at the end, because if some guy takes a dive and is flailing about, they take that time off. The refs kind of monitor that so that at the end of the 90 minutes, they add, it's called stoppage time. So they'll add another 5-6 minutes to make up for time lost if a player was injured or whatever. So, yeah, there's no time to do any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's why fans at soccer games are some of the best parts of it. I go to this bar, AJ Hudson's. I'm a big Manchester City fan, and we have a blast.
Oh, that's great.
We're chanting things, singing hilarious songs, and just a big group of us. And sometimes it's like 8 a.m. And some people are opening up the Guinness already, you know?
That's funny.
So it's a good time.
See, my husband just texted me. Griffin naturally ran up to the ball. Griffin was naturally good at soccer, but just didn't have the focus. Baseball, he played t-ball through. I want to say he played for like 4 years, and after 4 years, he goes, "Is that enough now?"
Yeah.
have I fulfilled my obligation to you as a baseball mom that I play? Because they're starting to throw harder when they get up to like 11, 12 years old, and I'm just like, you don't have to play.
For sure. And the thing is, like I was saying before, it's become so ridiculous financially that if my sons aren't into sports, you're not going to hear any push from me. Yeah. This isn't like it was when I was playing as a kid where
we get on our bikes and ride ourselves to the park.
Yeah. And what happened? Why do these kids all need professional looking uniforms with their names on the back? I see that all the time. I've seen 9, 10-year-olds wearing uniforms that are better than the pros.
No.
I'm like, the Miami Marlins don't have a better looking uniform than you do. Like it's so yeah, these poor parents are taking out second mortgages because they think this is their one shot. And I've talked to some people where I'm like, well, you know, if he gets a scholarship, it will equal what you spent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Put it into a CD and you'll be okay. Like, I just, you know.
It's not for us.
And if the kid wants to do it, you obviously want to support your child. But it feels like a lot of these kids are getting pushed into it as opposed to wanting to do it.
Well, I mean, everyone wants that Tiger Woods when they're in their 50s flipping their car. Let's take a break here. We're hanging out with Joe Kilgallon. He'll be performing along with me, Annabelle Laval, Kevin Bozeman, and Katie Miners at the Den Theater on June 11th. Make your reservation soon. I'll have those. I'll have the promo for you, but put it on your calendar, June 11th, because we need to sell this one out since I apparently blew up the budget. More after this on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, and KTNF AM 950. Thank you all for being here.
Tom Hartman.
Autocrats generally, particularly those autocrats who have narcissistic personality disorder and are sociopaths, as is, in my opinion, Trump, typically do not tolerate high-profile people around them. They want to be the star of the show, and that's certainly been the history of Donald Trump. The only people that he will tolerate around him are people who, you know, when he says, "kiss my ass," they fall to their knees.
The Tom Hartman Radio Program, weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Let's take a moment to breathe. Deep inhale. Extend your spine. Remain focused on what you're doing. If safe to do so, exhale slowly, leaning to one side. Inhale back to center. If safe to do so, exhale slowly to the opposite side. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First, drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
if it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips. Because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Here's great news for those Chicagoans heading up to southern Wisconsin. Should you ever forget to load up on Progressive brews from the local favorites like Rogers Park Provisions or Park West Liquor in Lincoln Park, Minocqua Brewing Company beer is now conveniently available at Dream Liquor and Cigar in Kenosha and in the Lake Geneva area at Delavan Liquor and Smoke in Delavan. If the great town of Madison, Wisconsin is your jam, please remember to swing into the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room at 2927 East Washington Avenue to grab some Resistance beer, pizza, t-shirts, and Progressive camaraderie.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our conversation. I'm in studio with comedian Joe Kilgallon. He's also a neighbor of mine over here on the Northwest side. There used to be more Trump banners in my neck of the woods over here, and I'm starting to see some of those be taken down. I don't know.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably a reflection of the things that are happening right now. It's like, here's my thing, though. I've gone back and forth with a few friends about this. Because there are people who have come out being like, this isn't what I voted for. And the rest of us are like, how are you so dumb? You didn't see this guy was a snake oil salesman? You didn't see any of this? Like, why would you believe the guy? He's got a history of fraud, all this stuff. My thing is this. I get that urge, but I don't think that wins elections. I don't think it gets people to come to your side. I think, if anything, they just stay at home, and that creates a problem. So my new mantra, I guess you could say, is... I don't care how you get to my side of the road. Just get to my side of the road. I'm not going to shove you back into traffic because I didn't like the way you got here. Yeah, you got here. You're here, fine, whatever. I just don't think it's productive. We want to give them a hard time and everything like that. But while they're in the mode of thinking to themselves, oh, yeah, that was gas is $5 a gallon. He said no more new wars. Also, this Epstein stuff, there's enough where if you are starting to leave, then come over here. Come over to the side of the street. It's sunnier over here. There's a little more optimism and fine. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we need to forgive them and forgive and forget, but in the same regard, if there's someone out there who is starting to doubt this man, help them continue to doubt him. Because Vance, so there's going to be another one pops up after him. You bring up a good... There's the blueprint.
And by the way, where has Vance been? Have we heard anything from Vance in a while?
No, he's been quiet lately.
Yeah.
He had a couple things. The only time he's spoken up, I think, in the last 2 weeks was for his girlfriend, Erica Kirk. That's his girlfriend. Wow. That one comedian did a thing where he dressed up like her. Whiteface, if that's a thing. People don't understand that. They go, well, if I did blackface. Well, there's a negative history behind one thing, and there's not a negative history behind the other. So it's a false equivalency.
Well, and also, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it. Let's see what happens.
Exactly.
Let the chip have at it. I mean, no one saying you can't do it. Just what the possibility of the reaction is going to be.
There's the word consequences
that's the part.
Mm-hmm, they don't understand that.
I'm just saying. But I by the way, I got yelled at by a neighbor because I don't know if you saw my video yesterday about Trump. This post he made about the effing,
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Right? Yeah.
So I put on a Sox hat in honor of Pope Leo, and I called it my Easter bonnet, Vatican approved. But I forgot I was wearing it when I left the house, and this neighbor started yelling at me. It's only because he had on his Cubs jacket and everything, and I'm like, no, it's just, never mind.
I would have yelled at you too. I'm on his side.
I have not worn that hat since my husband and I were talking about this since WGN had the rights to the Sox. I didn't own a Sox hat, so they had one for me, on my mic. I came in and they were like, you gotta wear, gotta be part of the team, and I was like, I don't think that's gonna work for me. So anyway, I just thought it was fun. Someone did a thing on social media about how Wrigleyville has been basically turned into like Nashville.
I saw that post.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's always been kind of a.
That's the thing that I don't understand.
Been a party area.
It's always been like that.
Yeah.
People act like because there isn't a McDonald's with a huge parking lot or a Taco Bell that people would fight at constantly.
That's true.
That it's completely different. As far as the so-called cool bars, the only ones that are gone are Blarney Stone and Johnny O'Hagan's. But O'Hagan's left because they were right underneath the red line, and the CTA kind of bought them out.
Yeah.
And I'd heard the owner wanted to go back to Ireland anyway. That was like that was before all the renovations anyway. It was like a good 12 years ago, I think. So the idea that they made it look like Disney, I don't see that.
No,
if anything, they made it more city-like.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because it's more congested now.
It is wild to be able to walk down the street. Like when they close did they always close all the streets down so you could pedestrian way pretty much all? That's pretty new, isn't it? That's what it felt like.
Because the Fenway Park in Boston had done that for a long time, and we should have always done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what's the point? You're not going to drive by there quickly.
No.
So stop the car traffic during game hours. You're saving everyone the trouble.
Great. I like that. It reminds me of, and I think you're too young to remember this, when State Street was a pedestrian area. There were no cars on State Street, like by Marshall Fields and all that.
Wow. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was, and I don't know that it would work now. And so many of those businesses are gone on State Street now too. But Wrigleyville is hopping.
Wrigleyville it's packed all the time.
Yes.
But to that guy, it's like it's been a yuppie neighborhood since 1994.
Absolutely.
It's not like in the 80s when it was more blue collar working class. Those days are long gone.
Yeah.
When Harry Carey started showing people having a great time in the bleachers and the rooftops and, shirtless guys and women in bikini tops, people were like, that's a party. I want to be there.
Yes.
So the days of construction workers sitting in the bleachers because it was the cheapest ticket hasn't been around for about 40 years now.
That's true. Yeah. So, my dad's ex-wife owned a building on Addison, right by, about 3 or 4 doors down from the Taco Bell. So off that alley. So
I know where that is, yeah.
Yeah, so they would charge $40 for parking. They had spots in the back. Yeah.
And people would pay it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Making a little bit of money. But she moved in there, I think, in the 80s when it was, and the value of that property. You know who ended up buying that property was one of the guys from Eric and Kathy's show, the Whipping Boy.
Brian the Whipping Boy?
Yeah. He messaged me one day because he knew a little bit of the history of the people that had lived there and asked me if that was my brother who had lived there. And it was.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how he came back off the air to on there, but yeah, so it was just kind of wild. He was like, "Is that true?" I'm like, "Yep, that's where they lived." And it was just a few doors down from that. I do kind of miss the Taco Bell people fought.
It was great people watching.
It was.
The security guard there did not get paid enough.
I forgot to ask. Do you have shows coming up that people should know about in the area?
I will be in Schaumburg on Thursday evening. Our buddy Paul Farver books a show at the Prairie Arts Center.
Oh yeah, I love that place.
In Schaumburg, Illinois. I believe it starts at 8 o'clock. It might start at 7. I'm not positive. So that's the next one. And then Saturday night, I'm doing the Late Show at Zany's, Calvin Evans show, which is
nice.
Always a great time. That he might be the most talented comedian in Chicago, Calvin Evans, I feel like. He taught himself piano over the pandemic.
Oh, did he really?
And he's great at it now. And he can sing so well.
See, that's so annoying when people do the things that you were supposed to do during the lockdown.
I know.
Like improve your life.
You learned a language, you dork. You know?
What is that? Finished a novel, all those kinds of things.
I thought we were all just supposed to rewatch the reruns of shows we had already seen.
I watched every episode of MASH possibly twice. And that's 11 seasons, my friend. That was a lot.
Those are full 22 episode seasons, not like nowadays.
Exactly.
With 10 episode seasons.
It's kind of crazy now that I realize I watched over 220 episodes. More like that.
I bet you were in the norm.
From the 312, the guy down the street from me still has a dump flag on his porch next to St. Tars. So gross. Oh, that's over by here.
That's over here.
That's over by us.
For the people who are listening in Seattle and the Twin Cities, St. Tarsus,
yes.
Which I know a lot of great people who went there. A lot of my good friends went to St. Pat, so that grade school fed into that high school. But I don't know what was in the water at that grade school because you've never seen people with more pride in their grade school. I remember being at a college party and one of them was like, "What grade school did you go to?" I'm like, "Dude, we're in college. Isn't the question what high school you went to? Why are we going all the way back to grade?" They would get the logo tattooed.
Oh.
I saw so many people. Imagine getting your grade school logo tattooed on your body. I would never do that.
I was first the Lions at Onahan, and then I would not put a Trojan on my body.
Forest Park had a panther.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool, actually, now that I think about it. But I don't know. And I liked my grade school enough, but they did something in the water at that school that made every one of them diehard passionate about it.
Their sports were next level as for a grade school. Because I remember I liked a boy, let's call him Billy. They had a wrestling team for grade school.
They did, yeah, that's true.
That was nuts. Mm-hmm. And the gym would be packed. And in the 80s, I was like, what is this? Okay.
Yeah, that's wild for a grade school to have wrestling.
It was. Yeah, it does seem a little bit strange. And folks can also follow you on social media. You got and YouTube. Let folks know about your shows.
Yeah, YouTube. I've got hours of stand up there. YouTube.com/Joe Kilgallon. Kilgallon's K-I-L and then the word gallon. And same on Instagram. It's pretty much my name on everything. It might be Joe Kilgallon Comedy on TikTok, but I have been posting a lot more on Instagram and things like that. I've jumped on the trend of doing reaction videos.
I know.
I feel dirty doing it, but it works though. My views are up since doing it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine suggested I do it, mainly because he was like, "Oh, I love your takes on things."
Yeah.
you'll see dumb videos on the internet and just give your commentary on it. And I guess it's no different than when people used to share a video and then write a caption, their own caption to it. This time, instead of writing the caption, we're filming ourselves reading out loud, reacting. It's the same thing, I guess, but it does feel like, oh, great.
I have seen comics get bigger following, so I look forward to seeing your hot takes on things.
Well, if it works.
Your reaction videos with Joe Kilgallon. He'll also be at the Den Theater with me, Annabelle Laval, Katie Miners, and Kevin Bozeman on June 11th. I'll have more details for you soon at the Den Theater for benefit of kids above all. Thank you, Lady B. Thank you to our sponsors, Pride Coffee Roasters, Source Solar, Are You Really Winning, Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but thank you, everybody. See you later.
A loved one owns a gun, and for a while now, you've been concerned about their behavior. They're just not acting like themselves. They've been distant, they've been unpredictable,